Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Mother and Crone. We are back. This is awesomeness. We have Melinda is back, so we're going to have a really good talk. First thing we're going to do, since I don't have to remember what I'm drinking now, is you got it, girl.
Yes. So today we are talking about gotu kola. So I am not actually drinking the tea. Tonight I'm drinking some chamomile, but gotu kola is a very, very good herb. I'm gonna try to bring this massive book over here. Um, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a very common herb, and you might have heard of it as Indian pennywort, but I chose this herb because um, you may or may not know I've been out the past couple weeks because my husband had a stroke 2 weeks ago. So he's doing okay. It's a long road ahead, but he is doing okay. It could have been way worse. But this is actually very good for treating strokes. It's good for blood clots, especially, which was his issue. He had a blood clot in one of his arteries in his neck. And so this is good for nervous function, memory. Um, it's also good for skin disorders and leprosy, which I found was interesting. Also, eczema. That was good. You can also use it as an anti inflammatory. It's good for rheumatoid arthritis. So I thought that was interesting. Wound healing. And one of the things that I found out, it's also known as a tiger's herb. Sorry, that's my cat getting in the blinds. Um, tiger's herb in China, I believe. It's very popular in China. And what is interesting about that is that tigers will roll in it if they have wounds because it heals the wounds.
Oh.
So it's like an instinct. I thought that was really interesting. And it even says here it stimulates wound healing, and it's thought to speed up collagen formation and the laying down of new blood vessels. Um, and it's native to India and the southern US. So you've probably seen these all over the place. They kind of look like baby lily pads. Um,
Oh, I've seen them. Yeah.
yeah, they're everywhere. Um, and you can use them in powder form. You can put them in capsules in a powder form. You can make a paste for the eczema, and for the rheumatism, you can do an infusion. And you can also, it's good for memory and concentration, which is good. My husband is actually experiencing a lot of short term memory loss. So even that's really good to do. India, you can use fresh leaves, are given to children for dysentery. The plant is also thought to be helpful for fevers, abdominal disorders, asthma, and bronchitis. You can also use the oil extract to actually promote hair growth, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. Hair growth.
And it's a very, it's very,
It's very prevalent down here. I'm learning the different fauna down here, and
mhm.
compared to where I'm from up north. So I'm learning all the different, flowers and herbs and all that grow down here naturally. So I've seen it. So I knew it. I didn't know what it was though. Now I know.
Yeah, and it's very good. If you look up a lot of alternative medicines, this is the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. It's a really, really great book. I actually got it when I was going to school for alternative medicine, but it's a really, really good one. And there's a lot, if you look up alternative, there's all sorts of remedies that it's really good for. It said it's also good for fertility, it mentioned in there. So it's very versatile. And of course, we're going to talk about the magical as well. So the gender is feminine. element is air and earth, and the planetary connection is Saturn. And the other names are a spade leaf, which makes sense. It kind of looks like this a spade,
Yeah,
or like a
try
little
that.
baby. Yeah. And as I said, Indian pennywort. The properties are aphrodisiac, which, like with fertility, makes sense, meditation, psychic powers and protection, divination, and lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. That's an interesting one.
I know we could add that to the third eye tea.
Yeah, that's I'm sitting here thinking, if we mix some of this different, things
hmm
together, we could probably space ourselves right out.
I I would say so. And you know what's funny? I thought that for the instead of spade leaf, I had to look closer because I thought at first that it said space leaf. So, I mean, lucid
We were
dreaming.
right there. We're spacing out as it is.
Yeah, we're
Can you
spacing out.
imagine us on that stuff? Oh,
Oh
yes.
my gosh. And it says gotu kola is a creeping herb with many properties for increasing concentration and psychic strengths. A common practice is to burn it as incense before meditation or to reach a mental plane for lucid dreaming. It may be added to conjuring bags for spells of monetary gain for divination.
Mm,
Folklore claims it as an elixir of life herb, increasing longevity and virility through stimulation of chi energy.
now that's interesting. It
Yeah.
is a vine type, like it grows vine like. Um,
Yes.
like I said, I'm still learning some of the stuff down here. It is very different down here than it is up north, with what grows and what doesn't grow and how it
Right.
grows. I got rosemary out there now growing like crazy by my front door, and it's just like taking over the world. But a lot of my herbs I cannot grow outside unless I bring them in the wintertime and put them in the refrigerator
Right.
for a couple months to, make them do that hibernation thing so that they'll start again. So,
I was
but
trying to
that's
but it
really
was
nice to know because I think there's some actually growing in my backyard. I'm going to have to look now. It's
yeah.
And I will tell anybody this, it is very difficult sometimes if you don't know the plant or the herb and you're looking at a plant, is this it or not? Like we know what a dandelion looks like. We're good.
Right.
But if you don't see that yellow little head up there, the leaves can be a little different. So you might not always know what you're digging up. Plantain is another one. Um, it has that very long piece in the middle that we used to pop off as kids and shoot the little seeds off of it.
hmm
Um, but you didn't know what it was. So if you're out harvesting and you're a harvester, unless you're very, very good, I would always recommend taking it to somebody in a nursery or someplace that works with flowers and not Home Depot, a real nursery, and ask them. There is an app I've seen out. I haven't tried it. I'm thinking about it where you can like hit a button and it takes a picture and then it matches it with what it has in its database.
Yes. I've seen that.
I thought
I
about it. I'm not sure how good it is. And seriously, sometimes you can take the book out with you and put the plant right next to the book and go, I'm still not sure. So I,
yeah.
I always err on the side of caution. If you don't know, don't do it. Find somebody who does. Um,
Exactly.
that's when
I
you
am
go into
not trying to be rude. I have this whole time been trying to get a blown up picture of Gotu Cola so you can see what it looks like.
and it's difficult sometimes. And like I said, books. Sometimes when they take these pictures of the books, they're in a nursery and you get a big bunch of it, and so you're out looking for that. That's not how it grows. Like
Right.
that plant is an ivy type growing plant. So you might be looking for a bunched up plant.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
can see.
that's a really good picture.
Yeah.
And I think I have some of that in my backyard. Um,
And you'll see slight variations of it. I mean, some of them are more like lily pad shaped, like that one was more full circle, and
Right.
then this one is a little bit more, you can see
And that's what's confusing to people.
a
Right.
little bit of the horseshoe type in the.
Okay. Right. Now, if you were to see that, you might not know that that was the same plant.
Exactly.
So,
And that's what's very important if you guys go foraging, which I will tell you I've not done a whole lot of that, and I'm very much interested in it and wildcrafting and all that stuff. I haven't done a whole lot, but I want to look way more into that and do it with the kids and get them involved. But it's so important to really do your research and look at pictures, and because it can be
it's very
sometimes the
easy.
shape of a leaf, or I mean, can be the difference of okay to ingest and you will die. I
Yeah.
mean, if you've never seen that movie with, God, what's it called, Into the Wild or something, where the guy dies out in his RV and he messed up like skull cap for a potato plant or something, and the dude died in the middle of the wilderness by himself in a bus. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it, but very important lesson.
And, and people don't understand that. And you also, when you wild forage, you have to be really careful because you don't know what the soil is that you're getting it from. If it is a landfill and you don't know it and you're picking it up from there, it's not a good idea because you don't know what it is. It
Right.
is much safer because we don't know the area. If you like, if I go back to West Virginia, I know pristine areas where,
Right.
but you got to remember, depending on what the water source is, it's either sulfur water, iron water, or a hard mineral water. So
Mhm.
that affects the plants and what you take in. We grew up in the holler where I was. We had iron water. Further down, they had sulfur water. So you either had rusty nails or eggs, rotten eggs. That was your
Mm.
water. So um,
Never got used to that rotten egg smell.
I I got used to the nails. I used to say we chewed nails for water. Um, and then I moved to Baltimore and we had chlorinated water and it smelled like
Right.
bleach water to me. It was like, oh my God, I can't drink it. It smells like bleach. But you need to know the water source, the water tables. You need to know what's in the surrounding areas, what it's been treated with. This is when I tell you, in all honesty, get you a couple pots, get you some dirt, and do it yourself. You know then what you've got
Hmm.
because you've bought it. You buy lemon balm. You know what you have. You buy your lemongrass. You know you have lemongrass. Rosemary. I bought my rosemary at. I think I bought it at Walmart. Um, but I know what rosemary is. You can tell by smelling it. So that's kind of a safe thing. You're not going to find it growing wild over here. Now, over in Europe, maybe. So I planted it. I know what's in my dirt. I know what I've got. You have to be careful nowadays because we've done so much damage to the earth and areas around, and you're not thinking about it. So it's dirt. It's not. So sometimes the better way to do it is to get you a couple pots, get you some dirt in a bag, and plant it yourself. That gives you a couple things. I mean, it gives you the nurturing of planting it yourself and dealing with and seeing how it grows. That in itself is very relaxing and calming. It also makes sure you know what you have, and you are more in control of what it is, so that you're not. It's great to go out in the forest. I did Boy Scouts for 19 years. My butt was out camping once a month, so I loved being out in it. Um, but the same token, if you don't know what you're putting your hands on, and if you're not sure how you're going to react to an herb, um, poison ivy you can still catch in the middle of winter. That
Hmm.
hairy vine still has the oils on it. I
Yep.
still catch it in winter. I don't even have to touch it. I just have to get near it and I get it. So there's stuff like that you got to be really
And
careful about.
like I said, and poison ivy is different than poison oak, is different than Virginia creeper. I mean,
And different than poison sumac. You
yes.
don't hear a lot about sumac anymore.
No.
It was more prevalent when I was a child, but I'm
Right.
allergic to all three.
And like we said before, you know, and just because the leaves or the flowers are edible doesn't mean the roots are edible, and vice versa. The roots might be edible, but the flowers aren't. Just make sure you do your research. Very, very important. And also check your endangered list. Do not forage or pick anything that's
That's
endangered.
endangered, right?
Do not do
And
it.
that's the other thing. A lot of people go foraging, and it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but they can actually wipe out the species from that area without realizing it.
Hmm.
So if you over forage, what's over foraging? Do you know? You may not know. Not everybody does. So there's a lot of things. That's why I've always been one to say, if you grow it yourself, you have the control, you know what you're growing, and you know that it's good because you grew it in your backyard or in a pot. You
Right.
know, my rosemary's growing in a raised flower bed out front. So, I mean, this thing's just taken off like crazy. But I know what it is. I know the dirt. I know what I planted. I've cultivated it. So I go out there and, pick it off and bring it in and cook with it because I know what I did. Foraging is a little bit different. And a lot of areas now, they're spraying for different, no, we call them no-see-ums down here, um, mosquitoes and other such. And they're spraying some of the forest like at the edges. So you don't know how far back that spray is going. That spray is not good to eat. Just
Yeah.
telling you right up front, it's not good to eat. So you don't know how far back you have to go in the woods to get to the good stuff so that you're not pulling all this lovely stuff that's been sprayed with mosquito crap, and all that stuff. You really have to be careful because you don't know. Um, if you're in a pristine area like around the Rocky Mountains or around the Blue Ridge where there's not a lot of population, you're probably safer. But by the same token, I wouldn't go in an urban area and go hunting for some of this stuff. If I found some of that out in my backyard, I would be very hesitant. People tend to spray chemicals on their yards to keep the bugs down. Also, all sorts of chemicals to make the grass grow and to kill the weeds. And so you don't know if your neighbor does it, then it's in your yard
Right. Right.
because the water table's right there. And here we have, everybody has sprinkler systems, so they kick in. So everybody's grass gets watered and, that water moves. So you end up with whatever your neighbor has sprayed their yard with in your yard.
Right.
So again, it's just you want to err on the side of caution. You don't want to make that tincture take it in, There was an old movie about the Civil War, and I cannot remember the name of it to save my soul. But there was a young girl who could never figure out which mushrooms were safe and which weren't. And a Confederate soldier had come in and they let her decide what mushrooms he was going to eat. And of course, he died. But it was because she could never remember which was good and which wasn't good. And that stuck with me for a very long time because I'm like, I would be that person, you
Yeah.
know.
It totally sounds like me.
It would be me. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's good to eat and chew
They'd
it.
be like, no, it's not the one with 3 spots. It's 2 spots. Ah, like I forgot.
After I've swallowed it,
Right.
yeah.
Be like, oops.
So I caution everybody because I like fresh herbs when I cook.
Mhm.
Everybody does. You buy them fresh in the
The
store.
aroma's different. I mean, it's just, I mean,
It has the
about fresh.
fresh is different. That's fresh vegetables that are
Mhm.
from the farm, not the fresh
Yeah.
vegetables in the store. There's
Or even like a farmer's market.
like a farmer's market. When I was in Baltimore, we used to have what they called the A-Robbers, and
Mhm.
it was a guy with a horse and a cart, and
Mhm.
it was full of fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. And they would go up and down the streets yelling watermelon, cantaloupe, tomatoes, and women would come out and buy it. This stuff was got. They still do it. It was the farmers bring it in. They load up their truck. They load up their carts, and they head out with the horses. And of course, all the kids they see the horses. All the kids are running out to play with the horse, but that's where you got your fresh vegetables and fresh fruit from. If you have that kind of scenario or a farmer's market, that's where you're going to find a big difference. Take one of those tomatoes and one of the fresh tomatoes from the supermarket and tell me the difference.
Oh, trust me. But we
Oh,
go to the farmers market as much as we can, and the kids love it. Like
oh,
it's, yeah.
you get the bestest stuff there. I
Mhm.
love it. We have the open farmers markets in St. Pete, and they have the fresh. That's when all of the organic people come out. And
Mhm.
all the vegans come out because they've got the honey, they've got the super fresh that's just literally, bottled that day
I love that fresh honey.
and
Mm.
fresh, all kinds of fresh vegetables.
That
It's really
dark
wonderful.
clove, that dark clove honey. Ooh,
Oh, yeah. Well, down here, the orange blossom honey is very popular.
yes,
We have
that.
red clover up in Baltimore and West Virginia because of just what we grow up there. It's a
Yeah,
little different. And there's a different taste to it. People don't believe it, but if
there is.
you're a connoisseur. Um,
We
it,
have two clovers here. We have there's a there's a big seller from Tennessee that sells down here, and then
oh, okay.
there's a bunch of ones here from Florida. But yeah, there's a dark clover one, and then there's a the orange blossom, and oh man,
The orange blossom is a little bit sweeter
it is.
than the red clover. Now, see, we up north we have red clover, and
Yeah.
that's the darker honey. And the honey is good no matter what you get. It's what you prefer. Um, Down here, I've gotten spoiled a little bit. I really like the orange blossom, but I only get it from. I don't buy it in the store unless it's a local store that sells all organic stuff, then I know to purchase it there. But I like to get it by the roadside stands. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go, there's a ton of beekeeper thingers around
Yeah.
here, and you can actually just go to the. I can't go because I'm allergic to bee stings, but I do get my honey from them. So it's like I go purchase it. But you can get really, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's the real deal.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's worth it.
Yeah, and it's got the if you can get it with the comb in it.
The comb. I was just gonna say that, you witch. I was
I
just
love
gonna
the
say
comb.
that. I was like, ooh, and it's like so satisfying to get it with the comb in there.
Yeah, and when we were little kids, um, I grew up on a farm, so I didn't know that there was a difference between store bought and farm because
Right.
I always had the farm stuff. So we always got the honey, and it always had a piece of the comb in it. And
Yeah.
as kids, that was our chewing gum.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
You break off a piece and you chew. Oh my gosh, it's so sweet. And
I bet.
you've never done that. That's
Uh,
what we did as children. It was kind of like a chewing gum.
I want
Uh,
to do that now.
if it's in there, you can eat it. Yeah, you can chew on it. It's like
I'm
a
going to,
waxy.
I'm going to Whole Foods tomorrow.
There you go. It's a waxy. Um, Remember they used to have the little wax bottles of sugar
Yeah,
water. Okay,
that's
it's along that lines,
yeah.
but with the honey because it's all obviously
It would
coated in
be
honey.
way better. Yeah.
Yeah, and you chew on it. We did used to do that as
You know
kids.
what I miss? When I was a kid, Publix used to sell sugar cane in the produce section.
Yes, you used to be able to
And we
buy it,
would
and
we would buy the hell out of that sugar cane when I was a kid, and we would go home, just chop it up and suck the hell out of that thing.
mm,
And it's like a thing of the past. It's like a distant memory. I can't remember the last time I saw sugarcane sold.
I have not seen it sold down here.
Mm-mm. It's
My
kind of depressing to think about, actually.
Yeah, I had it as a
Now
child,
I want to know where the hell I can get sugarcane from.
and we'll research this.
Squirrel brain.
But
Yes.
as a child, I'd had some. Some was brought to us, and it was like it was so different from
I
anything.
remember that being like a treat when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
It,
Like that was like, oh, we're gonna go get sugar cane this week. Like, it was like a
yeah. I don't know where you can purchase it. We in up north we can't purchase it.
right.
It just isn't there. But someone had brought some in, and I remember having it as a child, and I thought, wow, this is really good.
I'm determined now. I want my children to experience sugarcane.
And it's funny.
It's a southern rite of passage.
That's right. It's like fresh coconut.
Yeah.
Fresh coconut milk. Oh my goodness,
Yes.
nothing.
Oh man.
And my kids were like, milk from a coconut. So we
I
bought
know. It's
coconut
like
and
weird.
cracked them open. Oh, that's we won't even discuss that. The
Yeah.
best way is you get a drill. You just drill a hole in it. But
There you
um,
go.
the fresh coconut milk is, and if you're cooking and it calls for coconut milk, or you're making your little
Yeah.
drinks, your pina coladas. Yeah, that fresh coconut milk, it
Mm.
beats anything you can buy in a can.
So next time we're gonna do a cocktail that involves coconut milk, and we're gonna tell Mr. Pat to have a drill, and we'll make sure
We
everything.
bring fresh coconut. Oh my goodness. What we
Litha
want.
thinks coconut. Hello, summer makes sense.
Yes. Uh,
Mm. Put the
those are
lime
the
in
things
the
we used to do for
coconut.
pina coladas. I mean, and we put the lime in the coconut. There you go. Midnight
Mm.
margaritas. We are witches after all. But those are some of the good things. Since the pandemic, a lot of people are going back to doing their little gardens in the backyard, fresh tomatoes, fresh peppers. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I always grew in my garden. And it makes a difference when you cook with them or you eat them. The taste is so much better. So that would be really a great thing. Now, I mean, even though we're in the South, stuff grows 24/7 here.
Yeah,
Um, but up
we'll
north,
have to
you're
figure
just
out.
starting
Yeah.
to, yeah. If you could buy tomato plants right now, plant them, and you would get tomatoes.
Well, I have to figure. I want to figure because I have to container garden obviously, but I only get afternoon sun.
Mm.
So otherwise, I'm in the shade pretty much until 3 or 4 o'clock. Until sunset. So
Yeah, you'll
certain
have to see what'll
things,
grow.
yeah, certain things I have to get creative. I got to research it more. Because
But
that's the only reason I haven't started yet. I mean, I know it's like so late in the year, but
you can start, well, with Florida, we have the advantage of starting at any time. It's not like you're going to have to go out there and dust the snow off of it, uh,
I,
like we do up north, you
I
know.
know. Pretty soon it'll be time for winter vegetables, squash and all.
We don't even get winter down here. So, to
Well,
what I
okay,
used to.
Baltimorean, listen, 50s is winter, okay?
Yes, I have to remember that. 50 plus
Yes.
is winter. In Baltimore and West Virginia, 50 below is winter. So,
Mm,
you got to get used to the plus and the minuses.
yes.
Um, but no, I mean, here it's really easy to grow anything. And with Litha right around the corner, and it is a sun festival,
Hmm.
this would be a great time if you do have kids, even if you grow it in the house, you know,
Yeah.
you can still do it. Get a sunny window and you can grow anything.
Yep.
Um, Back in the 80s, they used to take your kitchen window, like over your sink out, and put in like an elongated window, and it was like a little greenhouse, and you could grow like little herbs in there. That was a big thing for
Yeah.
everybody to do.
And even they have like I mean, they have on Amazon like little greenhouses and things, but you can go on Pinterest and they have so many awesome crafts ideas and like DIY things. And you can find easy DIY things. Like you can type in greenhouse, like DIY, greenhouse, and they'll have something like, you can cut up a
Yeah.
2-liter Coke bottle and, hot glue it together and all these things. And it's really good. Don't sleep on Pinterest, people, because it is, they have, you can type in anything and there's
Something
something.
out there. Now, where I'm from, they actually do. My cousins have the greenhouses, and they start their stuff like they'll go out there in the snow to start their stuff because it snows in
I
April.
want a greenhouse. I've always wanted like a real greenhouse. Like in Hand That Rocks the Cradle, like that movie.
I have seen them made. Do you remember the doors, the French doors with all the windows? I've seen a greenhouse made with those doors.
Yeah. I want like a legit greenhouse, like made of glass and
Well,
stuff.
that was pretty cool because it's,
Yeah.
and then the top was just, I think it was like plexiglass,
Hmm.
and it was really cool. It was, I don't know if it was Pinterest or one of them, but they had it, where you could make it. I those doors are a small fortune to buy, even.
Have you seen that little hut that you can make on Pinterest by getting a bunch of like long twigs? I don't know if it was like bamboo or long twigs, or it was something with like the sunflower stems or something. And it made this huge like hut thing that people can like go in. And I was like, oh, we have to figure out how to construct that.
There's a lot of cool
There's
stuff to
so
do,
many things.
and those
You
are
can
kinds
type
of,
in Litha crafts or Litha. I mean, you
and
can.
that's the kind of thing that you want to start doing with your kids, because now we're still treading gently with the pandemic, but you
Mhm.
can go outside now and do those kinds of things with your kids and have all kinds of fun with them.
Yeah,
Um, with Litha around the corner, I mean, it's not that far away, guys. I'm sitting here looking at it going, oh my gosh, Litha and Father's Day, it's basically the same day. And that's kind of cool because it's a God holiday and it's Father's Day. So it's
yes.
kind of works out for us pagans really well. Um, but,
Yeah,
and this is a time when, to do a little of that outside doorsy stuff, and because you've been cooped up, you've not been allowed to go out that much. You had to stay 6 feet away. I mean, now that things are easing up, you can actually go out and do something and have some fun with the kids outside,
yeah,
and do some of those crafty things. But if you're stuck in and you can't make it out, there are those that can't. Just doing a little green in your house really makes a big difference.
it
Um,
does. It absolutely does. But there's things even like I was looking, so you can make sun catchers. You can get and there's all different kinds of sun catchers you can do, but this is just an example. You can go if you can do two different things. If you wanted to go out on a hike and you pick flowers and leaves and you can come home and pick the petals off and make it little craft, and you can put it in like little mason jars
mhm.
and make little sun catchers. And they also have really simple, you can get tissue paper and almost like stained glass sort of thing. You can do
Yeah.
so many things. They have where you can put them in like the Ziplocs or like the saran wrap, and you can stick it in the window. Um,
There's
there's all
lots of really cool things to do and a lot of cool crafts to do. Now, with Father's Day coming up, this is something, having, spending time with dad, going out and doing this stuff.
yeah,
Just a little walk in nature can make a big difference in how you overall feel. They've proven that. This would be a great time to do some earthing. Take those shoes off, walk across that grass a little bit. Just be careful where you're at and what you're doing. Take all the precautions.
right.
Because, me, I'm brain dead. I'd walk on a bee's hive or something. Um, but now is the time. June's here. It's warmer. Father's Day is here. Now's the time to start enjoying a little bit. And that's pretty cool if you can celebrate the God holiday with the God of the house. So it's kind of a win-win situation for dad this time around. Um, and Father's Day is coming up. And again, it's one of my cool holidays because it's a West Virginia holiday. West by God, excuse me. Um, And it's an interesting one because this was actually Father's Day was started way long before the first Father's Day was celebrated in West Virginia. So it's been in everybody's mind and it's been there. What brought it to fruition was the first one was actually July 5th in 1908 in Fairmont. I'm actually born in Fairmont. And when you drive into the city, it has the first Father's Day celebration on a big sign. But it was kind of bad because it was overshadowed um, with they did the first one, uh, was more, a young lady, Grace Clayton, was mourning the loss of her father on December 1907. The Monongah mine disaster in nearby Monongah killed 361 men. Yeah, I'm a coal miner's daughter, and I do understand those circumstances. I've lost relatives in the mines, so it is kind of scary. They had the first one, and they did it on in July, and of course you had the Fourth of July. Then you had the Monongah disaster. 361 men, 250 of them were fathers. There were thousands of homeless children at that time.
Mm.
That yeah, when that happens, the last mine disaster was 18 years ago,
Wow.
where they had to seal the mine and seal the bodies in the mine. My cousin's son is a safety inspector in West Virginia, and he had to go on that.
Wow.
Not good. But the Father's Day, it was started in West Virginia. They finally decided to make it real and, make a proclamation of it. So they did the proclamation. So when you do go and remember Father's Day, the celebration now is all over the world, like Mother's Day. A lot of other countries have adopted it. So it is a big thing. And it's kind of funny that there's only, and you're going to laugh, there are 15 miles between the Mother's Day in Grafton and Fairmont. It's only a 15-mile stretch between the two.
Oh, wow.
And I am from the middle.
That's
So
funny.
I'll be going there in July. And hopefully, I will have time to run to Grafton and well, I'll be in Fairmont on and off. I have cousins in Fairmont, so I'm Fairmont, Farmington, and people are going like, where are those places? Fairmont, Farmington, Rachel, Mannington is where my family is basically from in that area. So I'm hoping to get to Grafton to the church and have a picture, and then run to Fairmont in front of the sign and have a picture. I will take my T-shirt, so you get to see a shot of me in my T-shirt in
Nope.
West Virginia. It's going to be a fun time, guys. But this is a great time to do something with Litha and Dad.
Yeah.
So, and dads like to be outside. This is a great time for dad to do a hike. And as mom, you can kind of prep him a little bit with some insights on, different plants and flowers and trees so that, kids get a little bit information from it. With the Boy Scouts, I used to do a lot with cubbies. And we would take them out, and on their first camping trip, we would try to find the birch trees. And that doesn't sound too hard, but they're hard to find. But once the boys find them, you take a limb that is down, and you cut it off, and you pound it a little bit, and you boil it. And guess what that's called? Birch beer. It's root
Mm.
beer. Put a little bit of sugar in it. Now you have to be careful because it's not been pasteurized. It has has some tannous acid, a little bit of poisons, but a mouthful is not going to kill you.
Right.
We would make a pot of it, boil it, a little sugar, and let it boil good. Of course, I would have to keep tasting it to it got flavorful, and then each boy got a little taste of it. After that, they could find a birch tree anywhere we went camping. That was the
Oh,
first thing those guys looked for. Miss
that's
Pam, there's a birch tree. Can we make birch beer? So that became a kind of a standard with my groups, um,
yeah.
was to find the birch tree and have that. But you can do a lot of fun things like that with the kids. And stuff like that sticks with them. Years later, I had adults who had I had their kids, and I was like, "It's done. Miss Pam is having the children of the boys she had. It's time for her to retire." Um,
Right.
and they remembered those silly little things like that.
Mhm.
It's also fun outside to cook outside, even on
Mhm.
a grill. A great thing that even dads like to do is make scrambled eggs in plastic bags.
Yeah.
You boil the water and you make your scrambled egg. And that's a fun thing to do. It's
Mhm.
silly, it's goofy. When we trained, I did a lot of training for adults. You take a paper bag and you line it with bacon and you put an egg in it and you can cook it over an open fire and the bag will not burn
Mm.
because the bacon grease coats the bag, and if you have it up high enough, you can do it. Get a rock hot enough, and you can fry an egg on a rock.
Oh
Those
yeah,
are the kind of fun things that dads like to do. With once they
yeah,
learn this stuff, my dads would go hog wild with it. They had a ball with it, and that's a kind of fun outdoorsy type thing you can do with a little hibachi is all you need to do the
yeah.
scrambled eggs. It sounds silly, but they're a lot of fun to do. The kids love to squeeze them, and then you boil them, and then they get to eat them. So it was like, oh wow,
Or even and like Fiona loves her, the two of them will just go on walks together, just
mm-hmm.
and she loves that, even if it's just around the neighborhood, around the block, or she loves that time, and they'll just talk about whatever. They're not doing anything, but
I
it's
was going
special
to say
to
some
them.
of the best conversation I've had with
Yeah.
young children is being in the woods with them.
Mhm.
Um, I We did a lot of camping. We would even take our tiger cubs camping. We did family camping, and just sitting with the boys and talking around a campfire or a fire pit or walking with them, even just to the latrine or something.
Yeah.
They It's taking them out of the normal activity because
Right.
normally they're in a building, they're in school, they're at home, they might be in their backyard, but here you're out in a wilderness all around you kind of thing. And it's very different for them, and they tend to open up a little bit more, and come out a little bit more.
Right.
Evening walks are really cool to
Hmm.
see and hear what comes out in the evenings. The
Yeah.
owls, because your lizards are usually, I mean, we have those little salamanders, geckos all over the
Right.
place. They're usually gone at night. Usually don't see them, but you'll see you'll hear the birds and you'll see the owls and you'll start seeing all these other different
Hmm.
animals out at night. So it's kind of cool to even just take an evening walk when it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
We live by the beach, so a walk on the beach in the evening is like, oh,
Yeah.
that's
It's
therapy.
Yeah. And even if you can't get out, there's tons, like we said, you can do inside. Litha, it's the longest day of the year. So it's celebrating the sun. Um, and so you can, as a traditional thing, or you can start a tradition if you don't already do it. But a lot of people, you can light a candle and have the candle lit for the whole day to celebrate, it, that you let it, you get one of those long, however, 12-hour candles or
Yeah.
whatever that they have. Um, and you just light it in the morning, and you just, make your litha altar, and you have things that represent the sun and different things, and have your candle lit all day. And that's something that you can do. Of course, you can do it as a family, but you can also incorporate that with your sort of Father's Day thing. Maybe you, as the father, can make a craft with the child that you would place on the altar for litha. There's all these different ideas that you can do. Maybe you can dress that litha candle together and put your energies on that. There's all different ways you can incorporate that together and sort of
And
celebrate it.
it's a sun celebration, so celebrate the sun a little bit. Try and get out if you can.
Yeah.
Um, celebrate that little bit of sunshine that's coming through. I know up north it's still a little chilly, but it's warming up. Actually, Baltimore was hotter than Florida today.
Yeah.
So it is warming up there. But those are the kinds of things that you don't have to make a huge, giant, plan for 10 years ceremony. Just the little things you do with the kids are things that they'll remember. Just sit down and color with them.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Kids love to do that. Make a little something. Dads are really, if he has a workshop or a work area, that's really cool. Go out and
Or
build
even
something.
like, or even like Mike makes it a big deal anytime, he has to repair something, which will be just like changing the batteries in the remote. But he'll always have Fiona like, Fiona, I have to fix something. And she's like, so ready. She's like, yes. And she'll help him change the batteries. Or if, and especially if it's like one of her toys where you got to get the screwdriver and you got to do that whole thing, and there's like four different little teeny tiny screws and it just changed about it, so then she has to help with the screwdriver, but she loves it, like she
And
loves it.
this is a great time to start training them to learn how to do some of this stuff by themselves. There's
Yeah.
a lot of millennials out there who cannot cook, who cannot clean, and have
Oh
no idea what an iron is.
my.
This is the time you can learn,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt. Teaching your children how to be self sufficient should
Mhm.
be our goal.
Yeah.
You want them to be able to go on by themselves. Um, the greatest gift my children said I gave them was the knowledge and the courage to do things on their own. They learned to cook very young. I had a catering business, so that's free labor.
And you're Italian.
Hey, free labor. I took it
Right.
because all the kids worked in the cooking. But they learned to cook. They learned to clean. They learned both sides learned the
Right.
other side because I had boys and girls, and we cross trained.
Mhm.
So my son can cook, sew, and clean. My daughter can use every power tool there is. She knows how to measure. She knows how to change tires. All the kids do. So it's that kind of thing that dad can pass along a little bit of knowledge, especially to a young lady that she might not get anywhere else. How do you change a tire? How do you check the oil in your car?
Well, yeah,
How do
because
you
they
check
don't
the
teach
air
that
pressure in your
they
car?
don't teach that in school.
No. And those little life hacks, as I call them, those little things, those are life learning skills. How to cook. I grew up cooking.
Yeah.
My son's first girlfriend had didn't know. Her mother never showed her. He could cook. He'd been catering with me for years. And it
Mhm.
was like, she doesn't know how. And I'm like, how can you not know how to cook? I mean, I started them off little because I didn't want to hear, Mom, I'm hungry. You're hungry? You know where the kitchen is. You know how to
Right.
use the shit in it? Do it.
Yeah.
So I was one of those moms. I encouraged my kids to be very independent from me
Mhm.
because I grew up without a mom. So it it made a very big impression that I never learned any of this. So I was
Right.
teaching them. Um, so it was like they would come in. My son tells this wonderful story. He was 15. He went to an all boys school. So they all met at one of the boys' house for the weekend. The mom said they could be there. And they all, boys eat consistently. They don't stop eating from about 13 to about 25.
Right.
There's no break, none at all. It's a continual meal all day long, and so my son was like, they were all starting to get a little hungry, and my son's like, well, let's go see what's in the refrigerator. And none of the he was with like 10 boys, none of them know how to cook. So he goes in there and he whipped up a spaghetti sauce. Now, okay, we're Italian, so it's easy to whip up something.
Right.
He goes in there and he did a pasta thing, and the mother came in and she's like, because she smelled it. And she's like, oh my God, that smells really good. And he's like, yeah, I'll have it ready in a second, you know? So he whips it up and all the guys come in and eat and she's eating. And she calls me and she was like, your son can cook. And I'm like, he better know how to cook. And
Right.
she's like, he made, I want to know how he made this sauce because
Yeah.
she was just raving over it. And it was like, that was a very prideful moment. You know, you're going like, yes. Um, but it was also okay. He could be okay on his own now. He was in
Yeah.
a strange house. He was
Mm-hmm.
able to cook and fend for himself, and he cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, are you sure it was my son that cleaned up?
Right.
Because that was my first question. Check his DNA and make sure it was mine. Um,
Right.
he never cleaned up at home, but you know, here it was it was a growth moment because he was able to cook in a strange kitchen and satisfy himself, and it was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Um, my one daughter moved out to go to college. Thank you. And she moved in with two other roommates. Now, this child, we had to use a snow shovel to get through her room. Mm,
Mm.
yes. All my roommates are messy. We were like, uh, and her comment to me, it just, it tore me up. She was like, do you know what it's like to have to come home and be the only one that knows how to cook? No, I wouldn't know that feeling at all, honey.
Right.
She's like,
God.
my roommates don't know how to cook. That means I have to cook every meal. I have to figure out dinner every night. And I'm like,
Well, you shouldn't have told him you know how to cook.
from now to the rest of your life,
Get a
the
hot plate in your
question will be, what do you want for dinner?
right. Yeah.
It is the lifelong question every woman, you know. And I was just like, I said, oh, really? It's dang shame that you learned how to cook, wasn't it?
Right.
I didn't hear much after that. But those are life skills. And
Yeah.
to see dad in the kitchen, my late husband could cook
Oh
very
yeah, my
well.
husband. That's one of the things that made me fall in love with him. And the first meal he ever cooked me was spaghetti, and he made sauce from scratch, and I was like, oh, I'm in love.
Yep.
He didn't dump a jar or a can of sauce in a pot. He made it from scratch, and I was like,
Yes.
and he cooks his mom. I mean, his mom never. They rarely ever ate out. She cooked everything. Growing.
We never ate out. We couldn't afford to.
Yeah, yeah, and same with them. And so he learned how to cook. She taught him. So
There is nothing more intimate than being in the kitchen
yeah,
and cooking with a partner.
yeah,
It's a shared thing. And as the kids grew up, even though I cooked for a living, if I was cooking for home for us to eat, it was great. We would all be in the kitchen, you know, and it's like
that's fun. We do it
bumping
too.
into each other and
Kids are always involved when we cook. They're always doing stuff. Fiona can crack an egg better than any, like, she never gets shells in there, and I know adults that suck at that, It's
I
like,
tell you what, Jason was about 3, maybe 4, and his first job was stabbing the cheese with the toothpicks for the catering trays.
uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun.
I
Um,
would love that.
but you know, it's
And
the,
Fiona does the Grinch every year for Yule. I do the Grinch snacks that I found on Pinterest, but it's one of the Pinterest things I can successfully recreate. And all it is you cut the tops of strawberries off, and you put it on a toothpick, and then, or no, I'm sorry, you put a green grape on first, and then the strawberry, and then a little mini marshmallow. So it looks like the Grinch head and a Santa hat, and it's little. And she always toothpicked them for me, and then she ate them all as soon as I made
of
them.
course. But
But
you
I'm
know,
like,
that's
these
a
are the
fun thing
rituals.
for dads to do with the kids is get in the
Yeah,
kitchen.
and even like baking, because the kids love treats.
Oh yeah.
Like baking. Fiona's in love with like baking.
You
Is
can
like
make so many fun things, but the thing that you're
and getting
missing the most
sprinkles.
are the memories. You
Yes.
remember, I remember as a child in the kitchen with my aunt cooking
Hmm.
and canning and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh, I remember, you know, my cousins and I all talked. Remember when we were doing and we cooked, and it
Yeah.
was magical.
Yeah, and do like the cookies where you can like each decorate them, and do little drawings, because that is really cool. Because then you can take pictures of them
And
before
don't
you.
underestimate the teenager who is, oh, I'm too old for that. Because once you start, that teenager starts creeping into that kitchen to see what you're doing. And before you know it, they're roped into it too. Um,
Mhm.
I, I had, oh, I'm too old for that. Oh, okay, that's fine. We're going to go
Yeah,
over and do it.
and or you'll have the teenager that's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna eat that," and like, not unless you're helping.
Yes.
It's like, and then they wind up enjoying it when they're,
And
threatened.
to see dads in a different role as a cook
Yeah,
or untraditional roles, I'll say. That's kind of fun too for kids to see. But being, just enjoying dad for the day. I know everybody's short on time, um, but we're understanding now what's important after this pandemic. That what is really important, and spending that time and making those memories is really cool. Um, I know some of our fondest memories in my house happen in the kitchen because we're cooking or doing something. And for me, getting in a kitchen with like my relatives is the bomb because
yeah.
we all cook. So we all get in the kitchen and we're all just throwing food around, and it's you're laughing, you're giggling, you're talking about stuff. And a lot of our red tent things
Hmm.
I learned in the kitchen with my aunts and my cousins cooking,
Right,
canning, and doing all this stuff because they were talking, and so you're listening, and you're
right.
hearing stories like older cousins are talking about, um, miscarriages in my family and women's health and stuff, and I learned so much from sitting there that I was under the assumption everybody did that. I
Right,
didn't know people didn't. It's like, you know,
right.
growing up, that was part of
The
what
norm.
we did. And my dad cooked. My dad was an excellent cook.
Yeah.
So seeing my dad cook, and my aunts and my uncles cook, my one uncle owned a catering business. He cooked all of his life. It runs in
Mhm.
the family. So those are the kind of fun things that you do. And it being Father's Day, that's kind of a way to celebrate dad as well as celebrate Litha. Litha is about bringing the sun in, and cooking and joy and smiling brings the sun in. So I really love that kind of idea to do and have fun at the same time.
And you can
Um,
even incorporate when you're doing snacks, or, you can even incorporate like yellows and oranges and reds to represent the sun. Even in ways like that, you can get really creative, or eat on, orange plates or yellow, even your place settings or things like that. Go to the dollar store, get the yellow plastic forks, or, things like that. But to your point, going back to what you were saying, like, as far as spending time together, this whole medical situation with Mike and the stroke, I mean, that really puts things into perspective in a huge way about, spending time together. And especially with him being so young, um, he just turned 43 yesterday. Well, as we're filming it yesterday on June 9th, but by the time this airs, it'll be a few days ago. But, and it's just like it kind of smacks you in the face, because it's the whole, you never think it'll happen to you, or it's just not even on your radar. You don't think about it. You're just doing your day to day, living your life. Everything's easy peasy, mac and cheesy, going good, and then bam, it like completely turns your world upside down. And so, like, we're just spending a lot more family time together while we're trying to get him back to health and all. So it really puts things into perspective. Excuse me, goodness. And but yeah, just even if it's little things, like just finding those little things that you can do, like I said, incorporating different colors, finding a candle that you can have lit all day long, find a craft you can put on the altar, all sorts of different things.
there's so much to do, and with both of them ending up almost being on the same day, it's a
Mhm.
great way to spend the weekend. It
Yeah.
really is, because you're spending quality time, you're doing stuff together, you're bonding, and
And if you are near a beach, you can take a beach trip that weekend.
I the
Yeah.
reason I'm in Florida is so I can be near the beach.
Yeah.
I moved
That's
all the way down here so I could
but
actually
not
get a warm
everyone.
beach.
Right.
But no, I think those are the kinds of things we need to start looking at. And now that the pandemic is starting to ease up a little bit and everybody's getting vaccinated who can, and those of us who can't are taking precautions.
Mhm.
And I just want to put it out there, because a person's wearing a mask. Um, I had someone get a little irate. I can't take the vaccine. I would love to, but I can't. I'm not physically able to. So I still wear my mask out there because I still have a very high chance of getting it. And you hear, oh, well, if you get vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, honey, I can't get vaccinated. So I will continue to wear my mask, and I don't have a choice. Um, you can make masks, if
Right.
nothing else. I know that things are easing up for people, so you are able to get out and enjoy some stuff now. So that's a really great thing, and I encourage people to get outside.
Yeah.
We've been cooped up, and part of our isolation is being in the four walls that we're in, and
Hmm.
you really don't realize how much of a prison you're in until you get out
Yeah. Get some of
and
that vitamin D.
get it naturally. Sit out. Even
Yeah.
if you sit out, you have a beautiful balcony where you're
I'm out there all the time. That is my sacred space, honestly. Mike is like, I can't believe you're still out here. And it'll be so hot and humid. But I have this fabulous fan that I bought for $30. And it's got metal blades and it's got three settings. And it whips and it's high velocity fan. So it does the job. I
it
mean,
does
it
the
will whip your hair, but it's good enough. But I spent all my time out there. You know what? There was an awesome thunderstorm today, and it was the first time in the 2 weeks that this has happened that I felt peace because I just, as you can imagine, have been all, well, you and I have talked, but, um, there's something, and you know me, if anybody knows me, I'm a storm witch. I love, love, love thunderstorms. There's such the energy of the thunder and the lightning, and it's just so calming. And it's just, it does something to my soul. It just hearing it. And I was on my porch, and I mean, just hearing the thunder, and I took a bunch of videos, so I'm going to post it later. But, it was just so relaxing. And I was just like, oh, this is what I needed. Like right now, this is what I needed. And I didn't even know we were getting a thunderstorm today.
well. We have.
It was such a hectic day with appointments and physical therapy today.
I
So
can imagine. Now, my roommate and I, we have chairs that we sit out front. They're
mm-hmm.
rockers, of course. So we sit out there, and we have the backyard all set up. You've been to my house. I have a whole backyard set up
Love
because
your backyard.
I am an outdoor person, and we
Yeah,
have the twinkle lights all in the backyard. So we're
I
either
have.
out front or out back, and
Yeah,
just relax. And someone said to me, I think it was my boss, was saying, "Well, isn't it hot for you?" And I'm like, I if you're sitting there still, just relaxing,
but it's really
not that
windy
hot.
at your place because you're
We
so close to the water.
Yes, we get a lot of
I
breeze.
was
It's
really
always breezy.
surprised. It felt nice.
That's how it is all the time here. So
Yeah,
I'm fortunate. I'm on the bay side,
yeah,
and we get the bay breeze, and it's
yeah.
almost constant. That was the
Ooh,
one thing I never got up north in Baltimore. There would be days where the leaves don't even move on the tree,
yeah.
and we had the
I
three
get that.
H's: hazy, hot, and humid. And it would
We
be
get
110 or 120 or even up to 125 or 30 in the city because of the asphalt.
yeah.
And where Baltimore sits with the Chesapeake Bay, it kind of gets almost like a Los Angeles effect
Hmm.
where the smog because of it
Yeah,
being
yeah,
a
yeah.
valley. Well, that's where the haze comes from in Baltimore. So you get the three H's, and the heat up there is sweltering. It's not a heat you can breathe in. Down here with the breeze moving constantly, it's hot.
Yeah,
Oh, I can sit out for hours and we just,
I do. I'm out there all the time, and it's become like my little sanctuary. I have hanging plants now. I have flowers. Oh my gosh, and I got, so I had this really fancy glass hummingbird feeder, not one single hummingbird ever. So I got these two cheapy bright red plastic cheapy hummingbird feeders, and with the clear um, stuff, not the red. I know, not the red dye, but and I was sitting on my porch and a hummingbird came up and I was so excited. I was so excited. I finally had a hummingbird. And then when I was at Angela's the other day, a hummingbird came up again, two of them. And so I was super excited. And now for the afternoon sun, I have bamboo blinds. So
I can't wait to come down and see that.
I know. So it's becoming like my little sanctuary, and I have like a little tablecloth that has toucans, so it's kind of a little summery feel. And then I have like a sign that says "Welcome to Paradise," and I have a Venus flytrap out there, and he's like my little friend.
My roommate Lynn has plants. We
Hmm.
have we have a whole thing that we did there, and then she's got pots, and she's got some bamboo, lucky bamboo,
Hmm.
and her daughter had them. They were starting to get a little on the, oh my God, they need help side, and she's like a plant whisperer.
Yeah,
She brings it all back to life. So
yeah,
we've got all of this, and we've got aloe and all of this stuff growing all over the place now. The mosquito plant that,
hmm.
that
Citronella
repels them.
or lemongrass. Lemongrass is good
No,
for
it's
that.
not. It might be citronella.
Or lemon balm, one of
It's
those.
got leaves on it, and we've got three of them out there. So I,
There's a few
I
of them.
I know my herbs.
Yeah,
I'm an outdoor, I'm a farm girl. Okay. I know corn, I know tomatoes, yeah, that kind of stuff. So when you get plants, they kind of like, I'm like, ooh, what is that? You
right.
know? So she's the plant whisperer. So she's got all of this stuff going on here, and it's so nice. We have the green, and we've got some green growing in here now, and
Yeah,
it makes a big difference.
it does.
Now, we do have our secret word.
We do. Now, first, before we give the
Oh,
secret word, we do have a winner. So, again, I'm so sorry. I know people have been waiting. Um, I've been out for the past 2 weeks, obviously, as you guys know. And thank you so much to Reverend Corey for filling in. She did such an amazing job. I love you. You're the best. And you guys did such an awesome job together. Um, you guys are the best. Thank you for doing that in
she
my
was
time of need.
awesome in stepping because I literally called her an
I know.
hour before the show. And
I
I'm like,
know.
can you be up here? And she was like, give me an hour and 15 minutes and I'll be ready. I was like, she said yes.
I know. And she knew what was going on because honestly, I had a pan. I was on the phone with her when the ambulance was driving away. She was the one I was speaking to that got me through a full blown panic attack when all of it was going on.
And
So
what was even worse was I ended up calling her that night.
yeah,
I called her, Corey, talk to me. I need my rock. And she's
yeah,
like, a rock? I said, just talk to me for a minute. And she is so composed
calming.
and
She's the best.
calming. And I was like, she's like, I can't believe y'all think I am like, and I'm like, oh, you
She
have no
is.
clue.
I know. I told her, but anyway, I have the best friends, so
She
I
is
love you
so
guys. Thank you.
humble. She is the
I
most humble
She
person I
is.
know, and I love her to death. So thank you, Corey, for saving me. So I wasn't
Yes,
here by myself.
I
Um,
know.
and
So we had three people email
Yay.
for the tea leaf episode. So again, it was the episode that I last did when we discussed the tea leaves. We had three people email us for the keyword, which was tea leaves. And so we did the spinny wheel thing for a random winner. And Noreen Sullivan is the winner for the giveaway. So congratulations,
Oh,
Noreen. I will email you for details. And you should have that shipped within a week, and then we'll email you with the tracking information once we have it. And so, congratulations. And
Awesome.
yeah, and this week's word is, or phrase is Father's Day.
That's a tough one, guys.
I
Father's
know,
Day. Uh,
Father's Day.
but I do want to thank everybody because I'm telling you, we have the best network in the world. We were able to pick up phone, and we have like phone trees, and people were put into motion.
Like
And
practical magic.
yeah, it's you don't when you're in a situation,
My husband wasn't like possessed. He just had
but
a
I
stroke.
just said, because I had virtual circle and I asked people very nicely, please remember, um, light a candle. And the next thing I knew, it blew up. And
Yeah,
I don't know how many candles got lit. I mean, it was like this whole side of the world just went on fire.
I
Um,
know. Awesome.
and
Oh, we
I want to
definitely
say
felt
thank
it.
you to everybody who participated and just a thought, a prayer. You have no idea how it one each one person just thought one good thing,
Yeah,
how much energy that you guys are putting out. So it was absolutely amazing.
yeah.
um, Corey made mention, I made mention, Fluffy took
Lots
off
of
of it.
people.
Fluff
Yeah,
went, the fluff man went, he took care of things. We were able to coordinate. Now, to let you know, I'm a 4 hour drive from my Linda, so for me to drive would have been senseless because I'm
right.
worthless. Um, I would be in her way. So rather than do that, we handled things differently. Everybody has their own way of doing things and wanting things. I kind of knew what she needed. So space was good.
Yeah,
And we handled other things. So, and people just, you saw who your friends were because there was an outpouring of love.
yeah.
And
It was really.
everybody
It was.
participated.
It was very touching. Very touching.
Um,
Mike was so touched. It was really amazing.
And I noticed when you put his birthday thing on there, he probably doesn't know 90% of the people that say happy birthday to him. He's just probably going, who are these weird people,
He knows that he doesn't know them. They're Corellians, most likely. He knows they're part of my tribe at least, but
um,
he's grateful nonetheless. But yeah, thank you again. I just it was really awesome to see, and I was telling him, I was like, Lord Don is even wanting updates on you. When he's in the hospital, I'm like reading him. I read him all the messages while he's being pathetic and pitiful in the hospital bed. But it's been rough, but we'll get through it, and
it was very nice, though. I saw everybody come out and
yeah,
people just were, and before the pandemic, I don't think it would have been this way. I really don't. But
no,
your close friends would be, but people
yeah,
are more, I don't know, connecting. And it was wonderful to see. So, um, if you have a need, just mention it because sometimes you don't know what a person's need is till they mention it.
right.
We were able to, work around everything, get everything together, make things happen. And it was like, whoa, you know. So it was very grateful. I'm totally indebted to Corey for saving my butt for 2 shows. And she's been a great sport about coming on and last minute and okay, what are we doing so I can research it before we come on? So
I
she
know,
came
I
on
know,
so professional. I had to make the crack about her background. She looked like Masterpiece Theater. I
I
mean,
know.
she is so poised. And
I
I'm
know.
like,
He's
I'm
awesome.
Goodwill as a hot mess. And she's just like,
Hey, half my stuff behind here is Goodwill. Oh, you know what? My favorite Goodwill thing that I found is the Wicked Witch of the West.
oh
It's
my
her
God,
it's her profile, and then it's also her inside with her flying
inside
monkey.
with her flying
It was
monkeys.
like $3 at a Goodwill. I was like, oh, I cannot believe I found this. It's like, it's so
And
nice.
I'm telling
And
her,
all it is like a little tiny chip at the very top, tippy
which
top.
I would have probably done getting it home.
You right?
But it was just, she stepped up. All we
That's
did was ask, and she was like, "Oh, you really want me?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the most poised person I know." I mean, she
Well,
comes on
plus you guys
like,
have great chemistry and stuff. But yeah, I mean, my mom had the kids for the weekend. You know, we were able to work it out. But and my mom, she just, I mean, she doesn't live. She lives like an hour away. But yeah, because the kids couldn't be at the hospital, so that was a little chaotic in the beginning. But
and that's what I want to tell people, especially women. You need to get your tribe together. And there was a census out here recently, and it cracked me up. Women would rather be kept in or locked in with their tribe than with their significant others.
right,
Think about that for a minute.
yeah,
Husbands come and husbands go, but someone that you can pick up the phone and say, I just need you to listen, or I need a bottle of wine.
hmm,
That makes all the difference in your life. And it really does. My husband passed away a number of years ago. I've been kind of single since then. So it is my tribe that I lean on. And when you weren't there, I was like, oh, I've lost my tribe. You know,
hmm,
what do I do? And because usually I'm calling you.
right.
And, it was like, okay, who else is in? Oh, well, Corey's in my circle. Angel's in my circle. And it like hit me really hard. It was like, because I just moved here a couple years ago,
Yeah.
so I really don't have.
But it was also a realization for you that you kind of realized, oh, hey, this is my, like that reassurance, like, yeah, you know, that's your tribe. But when, like, my situation also affected you because we have the relationship with the show, and obviously we're also friends. But, you know, it
Yeah,
also made you aware of, like, oh, yeah, these are my people too.
my yes, and I've not been here that long, so I really don't have a lot of ties to the community where I live yet. Um, I lived in Baltimore for 50 some years, so
Right.
trust me, I had ties there. And coming down here, it's like you're still kind of testing the waters. I work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, so I really don't get out much. But it was like a realization like, whoa, I
Right.
got to try.
Yeah.
And I can call on Corey. And Corey lives in another state.
Yeah.
And just picked up, I literally picked up the phone and went, I need to talk to you now.
Right.
Um, and it was like, yeah, there's a tribe. I mean, Compassionately Temple is a tribe.
Hmm.
They really are. And I got to thinking about that at my age. And I'm like, gosh, you guys got to start making those bonds now. I had those bonds in Baltimore, but I moved down here. I've only been here 4 years.
Right.
So I really don't have that bond down here yet. And it was like, whoa, I got to get mine together. And then I realized, wait a minute, I do have my tribe. I guess I didn't recognize it as my tribe because I'm used to my tribe being my neighbor or,
Yeah.
someone close by.
Someone super local, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
then it's like, well, no, I've got a tribe.
Well,
I call,
because how many times have you and I just like Facebook videoed each
oh,
other and FaceTimed each other? You know what I mean?
without even thinking
It's
about
like,
it.
hey, I've had a shitty day. Can you talk? Yep. And we like, blow off steam and let it off our chest.
And I was thinking about that and I'm thinking, Corey's in another state, but I was able to pick that phone up, hit that button, and I had her on the phone after she got off with you that day
Yeah.
because it
And
was 11 o'clock that night. I'm
Corey
on
and I talk once a week for at least 2 to 4 hours at a
right.
time.
And I got to thinking about that and I was like, she's my tribe, you're my tribe, Angel's my tribe. I was able to connect with everybody. But and when you start thinking about that, this is when we need to start doing our tribal work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is extremely important to have those women in your life where, if, trust me, if you'd have called me and said, come, my butt would have been
Okay.
there. Because my
I,
roommate's like, okay, if you leave now, you can be there by. And I'm like, she doesn't need me there. She needs me doing other things. But my roommate was like, well, you can, if you leave now, you can make it there. So we had everything set up. She said, I'll
no,
call
I
you.
was literally I did not leave the hospital for like 5 days.
No, but it was. when you sit back now and you're looking back at that, you're like, okay, where was my tribe? My tribe was there. So for you guys that don't think you have a tribe, maybe you need to start connecting,
Mhm.
um, and don't let those friendships go. Uh,
Don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated because the it's like you have a tribe, but you're not sure. So it's, you know what I mean? It's like, you have those relationships, but you're not sure if they would stand the test of time or through those hardships and things like that. But don't be afraid when you're going through something hard. Don't feel like you have to do it alone. Don't be afraid to make that phone call. Don't be afraid to reach out so you don't have to suffer through it. I mean, it that was a hard lesson for me to learn because I was so used to taking on everything on my own.
right.
It was a lot for me to call on a friend and say, "Hey, I really need to talk through this because I'm driving myself nuts or I'm having a bad day or this is happening or that is happening." And just even if it's even, and like we said before, the tough love thing, or to me being a true friend is calling me on my crap if I'm doing something wrong, vice
Exactly.
versa. But also, if nothing else, even if you don't agree with me, just to get it off my chest so it's not festering, you know?
And you should be able to, if you develop those friendships, you should be able just to say whatever you need to say, and the other
Right.
person, okay, you feel that way, cool,
Exactly.
and you move on. Because they're going to do the same thing to you when you.
Exactly.
But it was amazing that I am used to my tribe being like within walking distance, and here I'm calling 2 states over to Corey at 11 o'clock at night, which is I never do that.
Well, and that's what I said. That's kind of the blessing with COVID because, I mean, yes, we were using Zoom before, but let's be honest, before COVID, it was nothing, it would not have taken off, like it has.
No,
And that is the reason why I have built these bonds as much as I have because I have gotten to know Corey so much better. And then it's turned into phone calls, and, eventually we'll meet in person. And, it's just all these things. I mean, of course, we live in different states, but with technology, and even us, we live in the same state, but we're 4 hours away, but we can see each other. We can, you're in your house and I'm in my house, but it's still personal enough to where, you know what I
it's
mean?
not trying to read emotions through text.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get the face plant through the text
Or
exactly.
like we've talked about before, you can't always understand tone in a text.
And
And
I
then things get misconstrued, and then there you have an argument.
Right. And being able to hit that little button and see somebody and talk to them and
Mhm.
really, connect. So um, I'm looking at starting the Red 10 again, just once a month. It's necessary. I've been
Yeah.
asked. I've just got to go through the mechanisms to make it work on this platform. I got to get the platform information from, our producer and all that good stuff. But I'm really intent on making sure women, especially, make those connections and pick up that phone, make that call, send a quick text. How are you? You okay? If I don't hear from certain people, I will forget. I'm not that person, but I really do make an effort now because it's like I go through I haven't heard from them in a while. I wonder what they're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're lucky. Our tribe is pretty open with all of us. We're
Mhm.
all nuts, so we get along really well. But
Yeah, we do
having
it with the check-ins. I mean,
the
every few
check-ins
weeks.
are great, and I'll tell you, it really helps to be able to Zoom and talk and see each other. It's better when we can hug and cry on each other's shoulder, but being
Right.
able to do this is wonderful. So I'm really emphasizing to a lot of you women out there, get your tribe together.
Yeah.
Self care is getting with your tribe.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do things for you. Sometimes it means taking a break from your tribe. Sometimes it means getting your butt up and going to your tribe.
Right.
But you need to have a tribe
Sometimes
because
sometimes it means evaluating your tribe or who you
yes,
think your tribe is.
and you have to make sure that it's something. Your tribe's going to change as you change. As you
Exactly.
grow, your friends are going to come and go. The only ones you'll never get rid of is your relatives. Trust me.
Right.
They're always going to be there. But it's still developing those relationships where you can say stuff to each other and you can just like, I just need, I just need a voice, you know?
Right.
And I didn't even occur to me it was 11 o'clock at night because I had been with you trying to text and I didn't want to overwhelm you. So I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And, I called Corey 11 o'clock at night and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I'm really sorry. And she's like, don't be sorry. Just what do you need? And I was
Mm,
like, you know, so
yeah.
start picking your tribe and start putting your people in place. Even if it's just to go out for a glass of wine or just to sit and commiserate over, how stupid your boss is that day. You need that person time.
Yeah.
And it's part of your self help. People are going back to basics now with self help. We're going to have a whole thing on that because I'm really into that.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, with my degree, I am. But it's now, we just went through this. We just went through a very trying situation where things were up in the air. We weren't sure what was going on, and we were able to communicate.
Hmm.
We were able to get points across. We were also able to support each other, even
Yes.
from a distance. And if you don't think that's not possible, I can tell you it is.
Yes.
From a distance, you can give someone 100% support. Corey
Right.
gave me 100% from all the way up there. It was pick up the phone, she was there.
Right.
So start developing those relationships, start working at them, make a little bit of effort. It's for your self care too.
Yeah.
So I wanted
Exactly.
to get that out there to make sure that people do that. There are going to be times when I'm not going to be able to make the show. Corey was gracious enough to say she'd sit in for me. So it's going to be a a communicating thing.
Right.
Pick up that phone, make that quick text. It's not like you even have to talk to the person. Sometimes you see, oh, I haven't talked to her. Oh, look, she said hi. You know, it
Right.
makes a difference in a person's life. It really does. And that 2 seconds makes that bond stronger. So get out there and get your tribe together.
Yes.
And if you do get to meet in person, that's like super awesome,
Bonus.
awesome, awesome.
I
I know when we get together, we're horrible. We hang on each other, and the whole group at Compassionately is
We're a fun bunch.
huggers, touchers.
We like
Um,
karaoke as well.
yes, and we hang on each other, and it's like a big group of sisters just getting together, and we just bounce off of each other with Miranda and everybody that's over there. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
whole.
Jeffrey. Yep.
Yes, it's a whole group. The guys as well. I mean, they participate right in with the rest of us. John Anastasio, you guys had a whole crew over there last weekend.
Yeah.
That was super awesome. So get your tribe, seal them. Your tribe can be anybody it is. One of my biggest 20-year tribe members is Jason, who lives in Chicago, not too
Yeah.
far from Chicago. And we've been friends for 20 years and we can literally pick up the phone and just talk to each other or just, we won't talk for a couple weeks and then all of a sudden, I haven't heard from Jason. I'll shoot him or he'll say he hasn't heard from me and he'll shoot me like, how's your day?
Yeah.
He did
That's
that
how
this morning.
it goes. Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah. He
yeah,
reached out to you. It's
I
been
hadn't
awesome.
talked to him. So, and we're talking publishing stuff. So, he just,
Yeah.
I know.
I'm excited. But thank you so much again for an awesome week. We'll have more next week on, I think we're going to touch a little bit more on Father's Day and we'll have some more fun stuff in the works. And again, the keyword is Father's Day or phrase, and you want to email that to tthymemc@gmail.com, and that's THYME mc@gmail.com. So tthymemc@gmail.com.
And
And
keep those ideas rolling for us. If
yes,
you think
yes,
of something, or you want to do something, or you want us to talk about something, even if it's just a flavor of tea, shoot us a quick line so that we can go ahead and take it and run with it. Um, we're getting out more and more now with our shows, so we're getting out there. Start talking back to us because we will talk back to y'all.
yes.
Well, that didn't sound good, did it? We're gonna be like little
We'll
kids. We're gonna
talk
talk
back to
back to
you.
you. We'll talk with you. That's where my mind's at, and it's late. I didn't get off work till late tonight, so. But keep that in mind. We got a whole new show coming up next week. We'll definitely be here, driving somebody crazy. So until